Okay, continuing under item 5, open forum, and I'll read a few guidelines for open forum before we start. The council shall provide at least one period for public comment per month during our regular meeting, unless no regular meeting is held that month. Any individual or group who wishes to address the council shall inform the town clerk anytime prior to the start of the meeting and provide their name, address, and subject matter about which they wish to speak. Persons must be present if they wish to address the council. Comments should be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. And if you'll notice, we have a timer up, so it gives the speaker a heads up as to when they're getting close to their limit. Okay. I'm waiting for the crowd out front to move out. Okay, Jeannie Hudson.
Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak and for the 5 minutes. Okay, wait. Don't, have you started? Okay. All right. My name is Jenny Hudson. I live at 412 Fayette Street, and I'm in Ward 5. Tonight, I'm here to discuss transparency. Seems to be a big buzzword amongst WHO supporters, which I really struggle to understand that because government is regulated to be transparent. Nobody's going to give you all the facts and the details on a silver platter. You might have to dig for those things, but most of it is public knowledge, which is what I've got for you tonight. It's a glimpse of transparency. This email is dated January 9th. It is from Mr. Harvey to the council, the mayor, and the acting manager. In the essence of time, I'm going to summarize it. This email is basically a threat analysis of everybody that spoke at the January 8th meeting. The first topic, the pool, Mr. Harvey berates every citizen that spoke in support of the pool, dwelling on the semantics of how we use the pool, address the pool as a bubble issue versus the actual heater problem, and about how our comments were 8 to 13 years too late. He then goes on to deflect responsibility of the pool solely to the incumbent members of council. But the best part is how he specifically calls out a few speakers, first by backhandedly calling them eloquent speakers, and then discrediting them for various personal reasons. Specific mention was made of a speaker by calling her out as the sister of a previous council member and the owner of the problem he inherited. And then he goes on to say, and I quote this specifically, "If I were a betting person, I would put at least a Benny on the two sisters being organizers of the hour-long parade." As part of that parade, Mr. Harvey, you're wrong. It was not organized by either one of those ladies. In fact, it wasn't organized at all. We're merely concerned citizens about our town with like-minded interests. And apparently I'm an eloquent speaker also because he mentions my comments. However, they should be dismissed because he hasn't met me. And he also believes that my parents were strong WHO supporters. So first, if you're going to speak about me and my family in public documents, make sure you get your facts straight. Secondly, you know what happens when you assume. So I suggest you speak with my parents personally about who they did support exactly. And the comments don't even end there. He insinuated the speakers weren't interested enough to stay for the full meeting, which is also incorrect. I stayed the whole time. And then he wraps up this pool rant about some data and how he'd not received that when actually he had. The remainder of the email discusses topics and town citizens like Valdese Hospital, Jim Roston, Paul Mears' buddy, John Mercer, Tim Skidmore, the Rock School renovation, and the babbling bureaucratic architect, and how council praised Marissa when in actuality she yelled at him and had arrogant arguments. Then there's the other nonsense category where he calls out Kevin Ferris, ripping Eddie Peru and himself, and Facebook pages he disagrees with, enumerating over 100 posts. And he calls Brady Linkus irrational, and he calls out the McGill people for regarding the water plant, And then he talked about how divisive the town is and how Councilmember Mears and Lohman have not accepted the results of the election yet. And finally, he wraps up this very disgusting email talking about the mayor leaking messages which are public knowledge. So, you know, I tell you, you call yourself a professional, you call yourself a businessman, yet I've never seen such a lack of emotional intelligence in my life. Is this really how a public servant serves the citizens of the town? By calling them out by name, by emails, misstating facts about citizens, arrogantly owning voters, dismissing their opinions during public comments, talking about town employees, current and previous council members? Is this how you're spending time? This is how you're wasting time. This is absolutely disgusting. Disgusting. Do better, Mr. Harvey. The people deserve better than this.
That's enough. No comment. Folks, I'll ask you to maintain order or I'll ask you to leave, okay? Rick McClure.
Hi, my name is Rick McClure. I live at 408 Guru Avenue in Valdese. During the last election period, while I was along with others, we were campaigning for the WHO, and I was privileged to speak to close to 700 people, and each was adamant about the high tax that had just been in place. During the House visits, we spoke to a large number of citizens and pledged to lower the tax rate if they elected the WHO. Well, which they did. And we plan to keep that promise, to lower the tax. While Eddie Peru was our town manager, Eddie asked Bo, the accountant, if we took the tax rate back to 41.5% per 100, would that be a problem? And he answered no. Yet today, the accountant and our new interim manager both seem to think that we need to leave the tax rate at 51.5. Neither of these live in the town of Valdese, which doesn't affect them whatsoever. So what has changed since the statement no is not going to create a problem? Well, is it the pool cover, the rock school, the safety building, the water plant, neither of which were included in the 2023-2024 budget totals? None of our previous managers and council majority ever proposed or planned for replacement for any of these listed categories. And that started 15 years ago. So no money. But they put no money in the budget for these items. And now all of these issues have hit us all at once. So all the concerned citizens seem to be having a problem with number one, going at it in a real precise manner to be able, so we don't overdo ourselves with a lot of debt. So I just believe that we need to get on with it. And so the lady just talked about the water. I just studied the water thing. For the next 10 years, there's plans to raise the water bill approximately 51% for the next 10 years. In the next 10 years, you're just paying 51% more than you're paying right now after 10 years, okay? Also in there, which I don't know if any of the people ever checked this out, but in the McGill thing that they did and gave to the town council this year, there's $28 million going to be spent in the next 10 years for the water plant. Now, where's that money come from? We got $7 million in a budget, in a grant to do that. But the next 10 years, we're going to be spending a lot of money on the water bill from what the McGill, and it's in the budget. You can look at the McGill thing in the budget if you want to. It's some mighty interesting reading. So number one is we got a lot of stuff coming down the pike that's going to cost the town of Valdese people or citizens money that they're not paying right now. Probably if you're paying 31, I believe it's 31. If you're paying $30-some right now, $38.50 for your water bill. The next 10 years, it's going to be $60.59 just for the water bill. That's not the sewer or anything else. So I thought I'd let you know that.
Tim Baris.
My name is Tim Baris. I live at 998 Laurel Street, Northeast, Valdese. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Town Council, for this opportunity to address you this evening. On February the 8th, I submitted a request to have 2 weeks of Town Council emails to be sent to me via electronic email. I also stated I'd be willing to pay a fee at the time of this request, even though during my tenure on the council, we received literally dozens of requests for town information and received hundreds of emails. And at that time, no citizen was ever charged a fee for the town's manpower, resources, hours it took to answer the request, no matter how offensive, abrasive, and repetitive they were in nature. On February the 12th, this was the email reply that I received from the town. That under the North Carolina Public Records of Law, the town passes along the fees for the IT vendor to research and pull the requested emails. They charge the town a flat fee of $150 plus tax for this work. We pass this fee along to the requester to mitigate costs to the town. In the rare case of large requests that exceed 2 hours of vendor time, they will bill an additional $110 per hour. You will be notified ahead of time before incurring the extra expense. We do not foresee this request exceeding 2 hours of billable time. Once the emails are gathered, they will be submitted to the town attorney for his review and redaction of any confidential client attorney information. This cost will be absorbed by the town. Please confirm that you accept the IT costs and would like the town to proceed with your request. $150 flat fee plus tax, plus a possible additional of $110. $260 for a tax-paying citizen to receive information that is already considered public information. Does that sound like an equitable fee to charge the citizens of Valdese? Can all citizens in wards 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 afford this type of fee? Haven't we paid enough in taxes to receive public documentation electronically? Not sure why there is now a charge when other citizens have recently requested and received emails and there were no charges. Possible reasons for charging a fee that I have heard is because of the amount of requests. Another reason heard was a council member is deleting sent emails and the town is having to pay an outsourced IT company to retrieve those emails. It also has come to the attention of citizens that one of our council members actually tried to mark emails confidential while discussing town business with the entire council and mayor, and then expect to keep the town business confidential. You cannot do that. This is town government. Where do you hide in town council? Now my main question here is, where's the transparency now? For 33 plus years, I have served this country, state, county, and town. Anytime I was asked for information, it was always freely given. I can remember many hours having to copy, email, fax, and mail copies of federal and state documents to agencies, parents, students, and so on, all at no charge. The main reason for this email request is that after viewing numerous meetings being held each month on YouTube, many citizens are concerned about how this council uses the term transparency. It has become rather evident there's been a lot of smoke and mirrors. Good thing about the video, it records everything, and it can be viewed over and over. Concerned citizens are curious if the emails match what is being said on video. We, the citizens, are constantly reminded how well this council is qualified, intelligent, and transparent. I'm hopeful that you can help us gather all the data in an equitable manner so that we, the concerned citizens, can be well informed. Thank you.
Ms. Cole, ma'am.
I don't get a podium
Yeah,
to
you
stand
do.
on. I'm gonna be small. Okay, it's Jean Marie Cole. I live at 705 Baris Street in Valdese. I had a couple comments, and I guess some people have used the word transparency before tonight. I'll use it because I can't think of a better word to use, but that might not actually be accurate. I really was just speaking about at the end of January when we scheduled about a week after the council meeting, a special meeting for some information to council members so that they could have reports on, I think it was the pool, probably the Old Rock School, and possibly public safety building. Anyway, they were looking for reports for that and so on, the expenditures. So I'd be concerned too. I like to get those reports because I like to know why you act the way you act, and that helps me understand what you're doing, the same as it helps you understand why you're going to take that action. So on Tuesday of that week, a friend of mine said, "Oh, I saw on Facebook that they moved that meeting, and it's today." So I called the town hall, and I asked, and the information I get is, no, special meeting's still on Friday, 6 o'clock. That's what they gave me. So I recalled on Wednesday, I can't remember what I heard, and I said, okay, and Jay said, nope, meeting is still Friday, 6 o'clock. I said, okay, and I'm not gonna bother you another day because I take your word for it, you've looked it up, okay? And they're very courteous, not picking on them. They're very courteous, they try very hard to get the information I asked for. So I showed up on Friday, 5:45, and the building is dark, and I stayed till 6:05, just to be sure, and nobody ever came, and it was dark. And a couple of days later, I read a report in the News Herald. Thank you for letting the News Herald report all your things. They do a pretty good job. So I know the meeting was held, and I was a little sad, because when I read what they did, I thought, I'd have liked to hear what was said in detail about that too. So my question to that is, not that y'all were trying to hide anything, but somehow the bridge didn't get across to where it should have, to the poor people who answer their phone and look it up. So maybe we need to look at making sure that those people are in the loop so that when changes on something happen, they're not giving out misinformation because they don't have the accurate information. So, and the other thing, as long as I have 2 minutes left, was I was going to say, as a taxpayer, I covered this, there are some priorities that I feel need to be handled. I know we've talked about this back and forth, but they really need to be handled long before we ever get to setting up our budget. And the two that hit me the most are, of course, a pool enclosure and our public safety building. I think those are two things that the town needs. I think that the survey that was done put those pretty high on the rating of town citizens. And I think, yeah, go ahead, guys, and look at those, because they really don't need to go on a back burner. Thank you.
Brenda Shing.
Hi, I'm Brenda Shing, a lifelong citizen of Valdese. We have lived for the past 38 years at Carolina Street. I would like to speak tonight in support of Angela Hoffman, one of our, one of our fine citizens who has expressed a desire to serve Valdese. She is a willing and capable candidate and would like to serve Valdese on the Valdese ABC board. Angela has been a citizen of Valdese for 31 years and comes from a family of lifelong citizens of Valdese. Angela is also a Valdese homeowner, having purchased her home on Hill Street 10 years ago. Angela bought and remodeled this house, working hard to make this into a nice, comfortable home. I think that this speaks highly of Angela and demonstrates her strong and determined work ethic. Angela is a teacher's assistant for online learning at Eastbrook High School and has also taught many of our teenagers how to play tennis. Angela is very interested in our town and only wants what is best for our town. She is also interested in public affairs and certainly exercises good judgment. Angela is very knowledgeable in accounting and accounting matters and demonstrates her abilities as she has served as a bookkeeper for Ramsey Service Center for the past 10 years. I honestly believe that Angela Hoffman exceeds the qualifications to fill a seat on the Valdese ABC board, would do an excellent job, and would certainly be an asset. I also believe that it is time. It is time to give this citizen the opportunity to serve her town. Thank you.
Mr. Guzman, sir.
Good evening, Gerard Guzman,
You might have to raise that.
143 Grandfather's Pass in Valdese. And I just moved here in October, and it was supposed to be an enjoyable time for me, as with anybody, especially building a new home, has turned into a nightmare, unfortunately. Outside the COVID issues, broke ground 21 of April. I just moved in October of 2023. So that's 2 years and almost 5 months. And when the build stopped, there was no recourse for me at all. I told the bank with the construction loan, I said, the whole country's locked down. My house is not getting built. Sorry, I'm sorry. Sorry, sir. There's nothing we can do for you. And they hung up on me. So after forcing me to use all my life savings, which it was either foreclose, because the bank was going to take the property that was half built because of the COVID pandemic. My builder didn't do any work for about 4 months, but I continued to make payments. I had no choice. So, and even the country was locked down. There was no recourse for someone in my position, and it happened to every person who was getting a house built, all the people around me, same, almost 2 years. Anyway, fast forward, I'm not even moved into the home, and the HOA, which was newly elected in June of 2023, sending me threatening letters. Meanwhile, I'm still in New York because the house isn't finished. They were complaining about the debris in front of the home, which I called the builder. He took care of it, but they threatened to fine me, which they did fine me for that, and then they also fined me for the plan changes that were done because the Burke County setbacks, which was done probably about 20-something years ago, were incorrect because the house next to my property had already built and encroached because the land was vacant land and no one bothered to check. And I brought this up. The architect told me he went by the guidelines from Burke County and they were off by 11 feet. So, which delayed the build another 3 months. But my only choice was to either rip out what they put in, which would have taken longer, or I just had told them to change it to make it work. And now the HOA had fined me because they changed the plans from the beginning, from the original plans. And then Cedar Management was fired, which was the original HOA for Lake Rhodus Estates. So now a new HOA came in, and that's in June that we voted for. And now they're threatening me now, today, I got a letter a week ago, to fix the road. I'm like, I didn't know I had to get involved in road repair. I'm a new homeowner. So I tried to explain I said, I was a police officer for 21 years, I know all about rules and regulations, I have no problem following that. And I said, okay, and I'll try to fix it. I called the paving company, they came in and said there's no damage to the road, it's just minor scrapes. But the HOA is threatening me to put a lien on the property if I don't fix it, if I don't pay to have it fixed. So I was like, I'm kind of in unfamiliar territory, so that's why I came to the meeting. maybe they can have a contact for new owners like myself to handle this issue that I'm dealing with today from the HOA. They want me to fix the road, and like I said, I already spoke to 2 paving companies, Asphalt and Hickory, and he told me there's nothing that needs to be fixed. So I'm like, well, now what do I do? So I had emailed the HOA, Empire South Realty, to state the damage is so minor that the paving company won't even come and give an estimate. And I haven't had any response. So I'm kind of just trying to see, besides myself, I'm sure there's other people stuck in unfamiliar territory, being a new resident here and dealing with this nightmare that has come up, not of my doing. I have no control over the road. And like I said, it was just some minor scrapes. And maybe the town going forward can have some contact when people get stuck like myself in a situation that, you know, I have no control over the road and what happens to the road. And the road, my builder said the road is fine. There's nothing obstruction, there's no hazard. And, thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you.
God bless you all.
Good luck. Jim Jackman.
I'm Jim Jackman, 3690 Middlebridge Road, Conley Springs, 28612. I wanted to speak a little bit tonight on some history, but I think I need to apologize for everybody in this room. This is not the Valdese I grew up in. I came tonight to speak about alcohol at the Old Colony Players outdoor drama location. I was lucky enough about 3 or 4 years ago to get a book that's about 500 years old. Lo and behold, in it, my sister-in-law, Phyllis Jackman, her great-great-great-great-great-uncle, tells about the Roman Catholic soldiers capturing him, put him on a wagon, was taking him back, and he knew for what, that how he'd be tortured, and he knew that if he let the information out about where the rest of the family was, they'd all be slaughtered. So while he was on the way back, there's a big cliff there, and got close to that cliff, and he broke loose and just jumped over the cliff and took his own life. Why did he do that? His roots, who he served, his Lord, his family, his community, they were important enough that he was willing to give his life because he knew how terrible the torture would be, and he'd have to tell. Folks, it's not worth it. If we take all those 29 that came over here and fill these seats with them, and before they went back here, they'd make some decisions that was in the interest of every citizen of this town and the interest of the future generations. Now, we can go out and put on our plays at Old Colony Players, put a lot of time out there trying to build that, along with a lot of other volunteers in this town. Never thought about selling alcohol out there because we had little ones coming up. And those little ones were just too important for we adults to set that kind of example. Now, if we've got to have that profit from that alcohol to operate Old Colony Players, my wife and I will be happy to. They'll just tell us what it is. We'll pay that. We'll give that to Old Colony Players so they don't have to do that. Guys, our roots, we better get concerned about the future of our roots of where they'll be in the future. If we keep moving this direction with our entire society, we're not going to have a country here. You know, it's just in terrible situation throughout even the world. One another's throats. burning babies, thinking that's what they're supposed to do. Let me tell you something, if you're in question, get in God's Word, read it. You'll get the truth there. Again, please, let's not put alcohol down there. The Trail of Faith will never do that, and it's a joining part of it. We don't need alcohol to teach our children. We need to teach them the roots we come from. Willing to give you life so you can save your family or your neighbors. Again, take that in consideration. Thank you.
Rick Erickson.
Good evening. Rich Erickson, 2142 Paradise Harbor Drive in Connolly Springs. And in full disclosure, I am a member of the Valdese Master Swim Team. Love the facility you have here in Valdese, but that's really not what I came here to talk about. I'm also a stroke and turn judge for high school and summer league swim, and swimming is a great sport. I've seen everything from real excellent swimmers to kids who start the season not even being able to swim, to special needs kids swimming. Right now, there are 2 high schools that work out at your facility, Burke, East Burke, and Drawn. And without the facility, they really won't have a team anymore. That's where they work out, that's where they have meets. I've done many meets there. With these in consideration, I hope you guys take a serious consideration of having a permanent structure put onto that pool so it can be used for the future for these kids. And really not much else to say. I'm pretty quick about it, but you know, as much as I love it, I think it's more needed for both the summer league and for the high school kids. And both those teams are decent teams, East Burke and Drawn. So, thank you.
Thank you. John Halman.
Thank you all for allowing me to talk tonight. My name is John Halman, 500 Campbell Avenue in Valdese, and I'm Vice Chair of the Valdese ABC Board. As a recap to the letter I sent out last week to the council, the following has happened with WT Sorrell on the board. ABC sales have doubled to $2 million a year. Our growth rate is over twice that of neighboring counties. And by year's end, over 800,000 in total distributions will have been made to the town. So why the success? The board with WT on it has taken care of the store staff, especially during the pandemic. In turn, our staff now takes care of our customers, leading directly to increased sales as they continue to excel at customer service. WT played a pivotal role in hiring Chris Linhart, our general manager. As Karen had before him, Chris has the full confidence of the board and has been given latitude to try different things, all of which have been successful to store growth. The third area WT is good at is oversight of the store and the general manager position. The ABC business is heavily regulated with all sorts of restrictions that limit how we can conduct business. ABC stores cannot advertise. ABC stores cannot market themselves the way of independent, in my case, the independent pharmacy could, and we can't place products on sale to gain business. Stores become successful by having good management and relying on good guidance from the board. If mistakes are made, they can cause lasting pain because we have so few options available to us to recover from it. That makes WT's 60 years in the workplace extremely valuable in avoiding these pitfalls. Stability on the board. Our board has 0 turnovers while I served on it until December when Seth left. Again, the sales numbers and distributions to the town reflects that stability. All the staff knows the board members and know that we have their backs creating a safe working environment for them and allowing for store growth. When you are a board of only 3 members like we are, it is very disruptive when one member is gone and replaced with one that has little or no ABC experience. This is not meant to be disparaging to Brian. In this particular case, though, Brian is only a temporary hire. He, in turn, will be replaced in the coming months by someone else who, in all probability, will not have any ABC experience either. If WT were not to be reappointed, that would leave the board with only one member, myself, who has any experience at all. Additionally, we have a general manager who is very good, I might add, but he only assumed that position 6 months ago. Now is not the time to introduce more uncertainty into running the store by making wholesale changes to the board. WT is a proven leader on the board. He is knowledgeable on how the board works. He is knowledgeable on how city government works. He is good, he has a good business sense, and is without doubt a great advocate for the store in town. There's just no way to make up that experience with a new person. In my eyes, this ABC store is a business. We treat it and run it as a business. We make our decisions like it's a business. In this case, and to everyone's credit, this business has been successful. WT has been a large part of that. Some of you on council have enjoyed businesses, and you know it's difficult to run. Replacing 2/3 of the governing body of a thriving store with those with lesser or no experience. Remember, WT's 60 years of experience. Glenn could probably match it, but that's not too many other people. It's just not a good idea to replace WT and the experience he brings to the store. Pure and simple, reporting WT to the board is a good business decision. Doing so will hopefully allow the ABC board to continue making distributions to the town of around $200,000 a year. Think about that. $200,000 is the equivalent of 4 cents tax decrease to the town of Valdese, which I'm sure would be welcomed by this council. Thank you.
Karen Caruso.
I'm having some voice issues, so I'm going to bring
May
that. I
have
might
to pull
need
that mic down.
Mayor and Council, I am Karen Clark Caruso at 805 Michael Avenue, and I was the Valdese ABC's general manager since it opened until my retirement last October. I care deeply about the success of the store, and you should too, since its profits come to the town. That's why I'm before you tonight, is to ask that you reappoint Mr. W.T. Sorrell to the ABC board. What I'm not here to do is to disparage anyone else. I do not know Ms. Hoffman and only know of her work experience as a teacher assistant, a noble and often thankless job, and that she's a bookkeeper for a small business. What I do know is that if she is Rick and Judy McClure's daughter, then she's bound to be a very fine person. I'm willing to work hard for something I believe in, as Councilman Harvey can attest when we both served on the referendum committee to bring alcohol sales to Valdese. And I am especially grateful for the privilege of having been hired by the first ABC board to be its general manager. I believe in North Carolina's local control ABC system as the best system to benefit all citizens, whether they choose to consume alcohol or not. Just as your most important decision as a council is the hiring of a town manager, the most important decision for the oversight of the ABC store is your decision to appoint members to its board. Unlike an advisory board, the ABC board is a governing body, much like the council, that must abide by rules and statute. Their oversight and decisions have real bottom-line consequences. Let's face it, despite a very rocky start, the Valdese ABC has turned into the cash cow that was promised during the referendum drive. It took longer than expected, but to ensure the steady increase in sales and the profits that go to the town, a qualified board is essential. The statutes require the ABC appointees have the basic attributes that make up any good board: interest in public affairs, good judgment, knowledge, ability, and good moral character.
Unlike advisory boards, the ABC Board oversees a $2 million retail operation, but is also a governmental entity. By law, it functions separately from the town, including financially. It functions to send its profits to the town. It needs board members with a retail background and/or business ownership, those with a strong understanding of finance and accounting, and those with an understanding of the workings of government. These are essential board attributes to successfully oversee the operations of the store. W.T. Sorrell has more than 45 years of local government experience. He is the most experienced member with 8 years on the board and has contributed greatly to its success through his wise counsel and governance. Local ABC boards typically have little turnover if they aren't politicized. Mr. Bill Davis served more than 50 years on the Morganton ABC board, and the only churn they've had since our store opened was replacing him when he resigned. Experience and continuity matter. The current ABC board already has one new member, and from all accounts, Mr. Steen is doing a great job as its chairman. But this board seat is as temporary as his interim town manager status if council continues with the tradition of appointing the town manager as ABC board chair. If Mr. Sorrell is not reappointed, it will leave only one experienced member to shepherd 2 new board members in fulfilling their responsibilities for a highly regulated business. It would be a shame not to honor Mr. Sorrell's expressed desire to serve one more term to help the new town manager in his or her role as ABC board chairman. Mr. Sorrell counts among his greatest accomplishments the hiring of Chris Linhart to succeed me, and I wholeheartedly agree. Chris has consistently exceeded the board's expectations. The town is very fortunate to have this young man leading the team and handling the complex responsibilities required of the general manager. I ask that you vote for experience and continuity, and to do what is in the town's best interest by reappointing Mr. W.T. Sorrell to one more term on the Valdese ABC board. Thank you for your time and attention.
David Weesey.
David Weesey, 3318 Montana View Drive, Valdese. And I here am also to talk about the ABC board, and I've heard great things about both candidates, especially Mr. Sorrell. And I'm taking a little different perspective on it. I was thinking about, and I didn't really plan on speaking today until the last minute, but I thought, what are we looking for on an ABC board? We want people with good character and high integrity. I know Mr. Sorrell briefly from church. I give him a check and a check on those. I have no business dealings with Miss Hoffman, but I do know her somewhat personally. I do know where she comes from, her family, and the apple does not fall far from the tree, so I'm going to give her a check on those two too. We also need people who are dedicated to the concept of public service and hardworking. W.T. Sorrell fits both of those, check and check. Miss Hoffman, she's a mom, she's a teacher, and she's been a coach at East Burke High School. Her current position, I'm told, is the distance learning advisor and the in-school suspension facilitator. I mean, these are people that take those kind of jobs. They're not doing it for the money. They're doing it because their belief in public service. So I give them both high marks on that. Business acumen, I think Mr. Sorrell's got way more than Miss Hoffman. She has done the books for a small business here in town for years, the accounting. So I'll give him the edge on that. There's something that I think that came to me in my personal life, and that is the woman's influence. I've been married for 57 years, had a small business for almost 40 of those, and I found that this woman back here has some great ideas, different perspective than what I have, and I've benefited from that. And I think of the benefits this town has gotten from this woman right here. I'm sure part of her success is her perspective on life and how things should be done. So I've decided, I think I would encourage you to go with the newcomer. We do have to fill these spots eventually with new people, and you need to bring them in and bring them up to speed. And I think Ms. Hoffman would be a great candidate for that position. And brings that fresh, a different perspective to how things run. That's it, I'm done. Thank you for listening.
Okay, council, item 6 on your agenda, consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda that council would like to see removed?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to remove item H.
Okay, any others?
I just have a question about the Baker Tilly agreement. Just make sure that I understand this. The fee for them is $17,000, and if the person would leave within a year, the manager that they would bring to us, then we would still have to pay a full price again to find another manager. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. There's no guarantee on their performance under the contract.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Okay. I'll accept the motion to accept the consent agenda with the exception of item H.
I so move.
Second, please. Gary seconded that. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes and raising your right hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. No, I see no opposed. Council, I'll remind you when you speak, please be sure to speak into a microphone. The folks watching at home will not hear you otherwise. Okay. Item H. Approval of request from Old Colony Players to sell alcohol. Mr. Harvey.
I asked to remove it because I thought we heard some new information, and actually, I don't know where would they be selling alcohol at what events? I guess I'd like
Okay,
to know what that is.
that's item A. If you want to wait, item A is going to address all that.
Should we move this to that item?
Yeah, we'll just move to item A. Is that good? Yeah, okay. Okay, council. New business, item 7A, Old Colony Players Update, presented by Edith Porter? I can't read.
Potter.
If you would first discuss the request for the sale of alcohol.
Yes, I will
please.
certainly do that. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Town Council, for the ability to be here tonight. I'll try to keep my comments brief, but those of you who know me, that's a stretch. So anyway, the alcohol sales, we have several people here who are on our board as well. We have been selling alcohol at some of our shows in the past. We've never had any problem with it at all. We always monitor it very strictly according to the ABC guidelines. We stop selling at intermission, so the whole second act of the show, people have time to, and with the ABC laws, you're only allowed to sell one drink per person at a time. Somebody can't come up and buy 3 or 4 drinks. Interestingly enough, I came to Valdese as the associate pastor of Waldensian Presbyterian Church, and this just came to my mind after Mr. Jackman's comments. There are lots of ways to interpret that book that we all hold dear. And one of the first questions that they asked me as I was applying for associate pastor was, do you have a problem with drinking wine? And I said, no, I don't. I don't drink that much myself, but I don't have a problem with it. And they said, good, because you would not like the Waldensians then. Because that has been part of the Waldensian history, not alcoholism, but sharing joy in sharing wine together. The request that was sent to you was sent by the board of OCP, and that was to sell at different shows during the season. One of them is in the Old Rock School. It's a dinner theater. I'm trying to remember what all we put in for it. The first one was Escape to Margaritaville. That'll be at the amphitheater. The second one was From This Day Forward. We sold at the last weekend of From This Day Forward last year. The Sleepy Hollow, which is coming up. We will not be selling during the Christmas show because that's geared more toward kids. Also, the children's show, we're obviously not selling alcohol during that. There's another dinner theater that's coming up in February that is requested, and then Something Rotten, which will be next spring. As I said, we've never had any issues with patrons at any of the events becoming over intoxicated because we monitor that very closely. As the theater company, we don't put up with people being rowdy. It disturbs the other people. And so this is the request we have made to town council before. We've never had any issues with it at the amphitheater or at the dinner theaters we've had before. I understand that From This Day Forward holds a special place in people's hearts, and we do have a lot more people with a different religious understanding that do kind of frown on the use of alcohol. I personally would not be opposed to removing the request for From This Day Forward, but I will tell you that last year there were some people who really did enjoy drinking the Waldensian wine that Peter from the levee provided. It was left over from the Waldensian winery, and they did enjoy a glass of wine with that. So are there any questions that you have for me on that request?
Well, if you would just tell us a little more about it. What kind of alcohol do you sell? Is it only wine?
Just beer and wine.
Only wine? Okay.
Beer and wine.
Oh, beer and wine.
Yeah.
And
beer, wine, and cider.
And how much do you clear by alcohol sales?
It depends on the show, honestly. A show like, I think Shrek, we sold maybe, Peter at the levee used to partner with us, but now they're out of business, of course. And he would give us $1 for every pour. So during the run of Shrek, we made about $100. During From This Day Forward, it was only like $47 because we just had that one weekend. So obviously we don't push the alcohol, we don't sell a whole lot. But over that 2 weekends of Shrek, we sold, according to Peter's records, 97 beer or wine.
I'm asking not because I'm a teetotaler, but
yeah.
because
we don't throw down and party hardy down there, that's for sure.
But if you had the same amount of money contributed in lieu of selling alcohol, would that? I mean, I'm looking at it as a.
That's an interesting question, and the reason we decided to sell alcohol is not to really push the coffers up, but because it was a request from our patrons. There are many other theaters in the area that do sell alcohol, and so they'll come in and say, "Oh man, we can't get a glass of wine," and I'm like, "No, sorry, we don't sell it here." And so the decision to sell alcohol at some of our shows, especially dinner theaters, things like that, came as a request from the patrons, not because we wanted to make a bunch of money on selling beer and wine, because we really don't make a bunch of money selling beer and wine. It's a convenience for our patrons who, in similar theaters in the area, enjoy a glass of wine or a beer while they're watching a show.
So Edith, I'm sorry.
I'm fine. I just wanted to know a little more about this one.
Yeah.
So for the shows that are geared toward youth or children, then there's no alcohol sales at those.
Right.
Okay.
No, the Disney Junior shows, the Christmas shows, we decided not to do that. The dinner theaters, Escape to Margaritaville is good for any age, really, but it's not like a 4-year-old will really enjoy it that much. So we are sensitive to young people. We're very, 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 very strict about who will be able to be near the beer tent, and we have somebody at the back kind of eyeballing the teenagers and the. So.
Okay, any other questions, council?
Do you want a separate motion on this?
Yeah, please.
I move that we approve that one.
Okay. Council, I have a motion to approve the request from Old Colony players to sell alcohol at their events. I need a second, please.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion or
Could I
questions?
just say this, just because of, I know how Mr. Jackman feels about alcohol. So personally, I'm trying to take both sides, okay? This is me rightly dividing here. So if it is something, because he promotes, I was a volunteer at the Trail of Faith. I know he promotes From This Day Forward.
Yes.
I would feel like personally like I was kicking him in the gut if I were to say, yes, sell alcohol there. So if that is included, if anything on that property attached to the Trail of Faith is included, I will personally have to say no.
Yes.
I am fine with it being at, the dinner shows. I understand people like their wine with that.
Yeah.
So it's just, personally, I'm trying to balance.
And it is difficult because the town property is leased to Old Colony Players here
Yes.
and Trail of Faith here. And so we do share a border, even though we are two separate entities with separate missions.
Okay.
And we promote the Trail of Faith too
Yes.
at our shows too.
Any
Yeah.
further questions?
We do like to work together.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying yes, and raising your right hand.
Yes.
Those opposed signify by raising your right hand and stating no.
No.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got to speak up. Motion carries 4-1.
Okay, now I will speed through because I'm just going to give a little year in review. First of all, I am overjoyed. I am probably one of the happiest and stressed people in Valdese all the time because what we do is so much fun and it brings so much joy to so many people, but at the same time, it's a lot of work. But I wanted to remind us first, the mission of Old Colony Players is to preserve Waldensian cultural heritage, promote quality theater, and celebrate diverse artistic expression. And we are a 501c3 nonprofit corporation. We were founded to tell the story of this town. The first show from this day forward was at the 75th anniversary of the town. And we are very proud that we're going to celebrate our 56th consecutive season this year. Our 2023 season, we had a great time. We started out with Beauty and the Beast Jr. We had 30 amazing actors all under the age of 18. We had 2,109 patrons who came to see the show, and over 60% of them were outside of Burke County. So we are really a draw for not only Burke County, but the surrounding area. Then we did a crazy little thing called Death in conjunction with the Waldensian Heritage Venues. We had 2 sold-out performances. It was a locally written show. It was hilarious, and we had a blast. Then we did Shrek the Musical down at the amphitheater. We had 30 performers. 7 were brand new to OCP or the stage at all. 1,006 patrons plus volunteers. And again, over 70% of those audiences were from outside of Valdese, which is pretty impressive that we bring them in. From this day forward, 2023 was our 56th consecutive season, making us the longest running, continuously running outdoor drama in North Carolina, and I believe the United States, even though I think Horn and Trumpet in the Land may have done during COVID as well. We had 2 rain-out nights, and we had over 600 patrons for the shows this year. 35 in the cast and crew, 11 had never been with OCP before, and this is our only show we pay actors for. We pay them weekly, WEAKLY. And we have a lot of fun. And then we did an OCP summer camp, You in the Spotlight. We had 25 students. We had 5 amazing teachers. We teach music, dance, and drama. And we're hoping to expand our reach to the youth of the community. We did have that underwritten with a grant from the Community Foundation of Burke, which we were very grateful for. And I'm already getting all kinds of calls from parents saying, when are we going to do this? When is it? They're hoping we will expand to 2 weeks because we have such a great time. Then we did another dinner theater in the Waldensian Room, Psych, in September. It was hilarious. We had 3 dinner performances, 1 matinee, 150 attendees, and over 50%, again, outside of Burke County. Young Frankenstein took place in October at the amphitheater, 6 performances, 500 patrons, 19 performers, 4 new to OCP. And this says It's a Wonderful Life. That's actually a mistake on my part because that is a picture from Christmas Carol from 2022. But we had 7 performances, 760 patrons and volunteers, 27 performers, 8 new faces. So there we go. By the way, Council, you have on your iPad the old PowerPoint, but so much has happened in the last 2 weeks I had to share it with you. One of them being the closing of Little Mermaid Jr., which we did in January and February. It was amazing. We had 1,300 patrons come to Valdese for that. 37 youth under the age of 18, 13 who have never been on stage before. Then we are just on Thursday night opening the Diary of Anne Frank, which is a very precious show to us. Due to the renovations at the Old Rock School, we were planning on doing it in the Waldensian Room, but then Marissa found out late too that gonna start some of the plumbing in the Waldensian room earlier than we thought. So through the generosity of the Waldensian Presbyterian Church, we are doing that in Pioneer Hall. We open Thursday, and it's a beautiful show, and I encourage you all to come and see it. But get your tickets early, $75 per performances, and we're only doing 6 performances. So looking forward to that. That's the beautiful face of Keely Huffman, who's 16 and plays Anne Frank. So what about this thing called Old Colony Players? We are proud to be the only continuously running community theater in Burke County. And we are proud of the way we bring people to Valdese, not only to enjoy our shows, but the rest of the wonderful things that Valdese has to offer. We tell them about the Trail of Faith and the museum. They dine in our restaurants, and I hear it over and over again. When people come here, they go, wow, I had no idea a place like this existed. And so it's really exciting for us to be able to share that with people when they come for our shows. So where do our audiences come from? Over 75%, I said, come from outside of Valdese, making OCP a destination attraction for us and for people who don't know our wonderful town. For the outdoor drama, we have people from all over the country and even overseas. One of our rained out performances, there was a couple from Colorado there, and they said, we came all the way from Colorado to see your show. And I felt so bad. But that happens all the time. We even have people from overseas who come to see from this day forward. All right, the production's patrons regularly come from Asheville, Winston-Salem, and Charlotte, and every place in between. There's this one group of people, I think it's a Church of God group, that they call me almost every show and say, we're coming from Asheville, can we get a group rate? And so we really draw from a very large area. But where do our actors come from? It's an interesting thought, isn't it? Our actors are a diverse group. They come from Hickory, Lenoir, Boone, Marion, Cherryville, Lincolnton, Shelby, Statesville, as well as all other places in the acting community around here. So not only are we a draw for the patrons, but we also are a draw for the acting community, a very amazing, talented acting community in this part of the world. We have a wonderful core group who work with us almost every show, but we've had 45 people this past year alone, who have joined our casts and crews, who had never worked with Old Colony Players before or had never been on stage before. We are truly a community theater where everyone's welcome. And if you ever want to audition for a show, I think there's some coming up y'all would look good in. So please come and audition. As a community theater, all actors and crew are volunteers. Each of them give about 150 hours of their time at the theater for any given production. Michael Ferris can attest to it because he had to bring his son Sam to all those rehearsals for Little Mermaid. From this day forward is the only production for which actors are paid, and as I said, we pay them weekly for that whole summer of sweating and sweating and sweating. The pay ranges from $150 to $400 for the whole summer, not for a week, for the whole summer. So they really do it for love of the story and love of theater. How much does it cost to put on a production? Depending on the production, the rights alone range from $120 to $285 per performance. That's what we have to pay the people in New York who own the scripts. And so the average rights for a major musical, just the rights alone, is about $4,500. Add to that costumes, props, sets, musicians, all that other stuff. Production can cost anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 to produce. And so we're very grateful to the community who gives generously, because ticket sales don't really pay for all of that. On top of the show costs, of course, we have the regular costs of doing business. And so, as I said, revenues don't really pay for all of that. And so we are so grateful to this community and all those who have become members to work with us to bring arts here. What's new? We've had a major upgrade to the amphitheater thanks to a Rostan Family Foundation grant. We were also the recipient of the Hometown Neighbors Grant from Bimbo Bakeries of Valdese. They added a beautiful new concession stand down at the amphitheater for us and a concrete pad around the tech shack so that we can more easily use our spotlight. We're continuing to attract actors and audiences from outside of our immediate area and are excited about new people we bring into our community. We're seeking to continue to bring quality theater and well-rounded seasons that brings the community together and attracts new people to Valdese to enjoy not only our shows, but the rest of what Valdese has to offer. And we are looking forward to the upgrades at the Old Rock School, which will bring in new and exciting facilities for us to work in. So what's next? This is the new slide that I had to put in because we just got approval for all of these through the people in New York. Our next show is Jimmy Buffett's Escape to Margaritaville. The way I like to explain it is if SpongeBob and Mamma Mia had a baby, they put it on the Hallmark Channel and sang Jimmy Buffett music. That's the show. It's going to be fun. And then from this day forward, yeah, you don't want to miss this one. From this day forward, we actually already cast that Margaritaville last week. From this day forward, we're looking forward. It'll be our 57th season. And then Assassins, which is one of Sondheim's smaller works, not as well known, but it was written by Stephen Sondheim. It's the only show he never went back and changed anything is. When he wrote it, he said it's perfect the way it is. It is not for the faint of heart because that is about all the people who tried to assassinate presidents of the United States. And it's a musical. And then we'll do the... I don't know how we planned that for September, and and then in October we're doing The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. We already have a lead on a horse so that the horseman can ride through the amphitheater and scare people. Then Christmas we'll be doing the musical version of Miracle on 34th Street. And then we will do another fabulous junior show in January, but we're still batting fourth between 2 or 3 shows, and so we haven't made that determination yet. Then in February 2025, we're doing the last 5 years, probably at the Burke Arts Council, because they have a new black box theater, and they're inviting us there so that we can expand Old Colony Players and bring the people from Morganton kind of this way a little bit more too. And then we'll round out the season with Something Rotten. If you don't know about that show, you need to look it up. It's gonna be epic. And so finally, just a thank you to the town council, to the town employees, the Old Rock School and Tourism Department staff, and especially the community here for all the support, because without all that, our dreams would not be possible and our stories would remain silent, because you are all the community and community theater. So thank you very much for your time tonight, and come see Anne Frank. Are there any questions you have for me?
Any questions, council? Okay, no ma'am.
Thank you all so much. I hate to speak and run, but they are currently rehearsing, and I need to go make sure everything's...
Okay, council, under item 7B, Arbor Day proclamation, and I'll read that. Arbor Day 2024 proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas the holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas 2024 is the 152nd anniversary of the holiday, and Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut our heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable source giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and beautifying our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the town of Valdese has received the prestigious Tree City USA Award for the past 36 years. Now therefore, I, Charles Watts, Mayor of the town of Valdese, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim Friday, March 15th, 2024, as the 152nd anniversary celebration of Arbor Day. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. This 4th day of March, 2024. Okay. Item C, reconsideration of approval for the Western Piedmont Council of Government contract to develop a comprehensive parks and recreation plan, presented by Allison Adams with COG. Go ahead, ma'am.
Sir.
Thank you.
At the last meeting, I guess this is a pre-agenda meeting, I made the presentation, and just for sake of time, Nothing's really changed with the presentation. As far as the contract goes, we did move the date up, and the only reason why we did that is so that we could hit the ground running July 1 with the survey. So, any questions of the board, I'm happy to answer them. If you'd like me to go through the information, I can do that as well.
Council?
It's still a one-year plan. It's going to take
It's
a
1
year
year.
to put it together.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, we'll shoot quicker, but, you know, I want to be mindful.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We approved it, but it's still gonna cost $23,000. The first presentation we had suggesting this when we considered it was from the chairman of the committee, and he had to sign up to speak, but he said it was gonna cost $20,000, and then when we got a proposal, memo a week or so later, it was $23,000. So it's still $23,000?
Correct.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, is there a motion to reconsider the approval of the COG contract for the development of a comprehensive parks and recreation plan?
Can I just ask, Mr. Attorney, did we not approve this at the February 16th meeting?
It was approved, yes, subject to my review. I've reviewed it. Revisions have been accepted by the COG, but it was requested to put on the agenda as a potential reconsideration. If there's not one, then we'll move to the next item.
Okay. I just assumed it was approved.
It has been approved.
Okay. Hearing no motion to reconsider, we'll move on to item D.
Thank you.
Allison, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Item D, consideration of committee board appointments presented by council. And council, the way this will work is I will open the floor for nominations. I will announce each nomination as you give it to me, and I will write that nomination down. Nominations are to be made one at a time. And in other words, if I, and not that I'm going to because I can't, but if I was to make a nomination, I can only nominate one person, and then it'd move to Gary or whoever. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, I'll open the floor for nominations for the Facilities Review Committee. Go ahead.
I nominate Mr. Greg Refor for a one-year term.
Okay. Anyone else with a nomination? Okay.
I nominate Mr. Jerry Hyde for a two-year term.
Any other nominations?
I nominate Miss Tessa Collinson for a two-year term.
Any other nominations?
I nominate Mr. Roger Hevner for a three-year term.
Any other nominations from council?
There's one more that I would like to serve on this committee myself. I submitted biographical information. Well, I don't know if that's necessary for council members, but if anybody would care to nominate me, that would be fine. If not, I guess I'll nominate myself.
I nominate Glenn Harvey to the facilities.
That's 3-year.
A 3-year term.
I'm sorry?
3-year term.
3-year term, yes, I'm sorry.
Do I need to say that?
Okay, I need a second, please.
Second.
Okay. All right. The way this will work is since there's just 5 nominees and there's only 5 positions on the committee, we will vote for the committee as a whole. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to accept all the nominees for the Facilities Review Committee.
Make the motion.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand and saying yes.
Yes.
Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Okay, council, thank you. Next committee up for election is the Drug and Homeless Advisory Task Force, and I'll open the floor for nominations.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to appoint Reverend Josh Lale.
Okay. Any other nominations from council?
And Sergeant William Beck.
Any other nominations from council? Okay.
Miss Annette Skidmore.
Other nominations from council?
Mr. Mark Queen.
Anyone else? Okay, go ahead, last one.
I guess if somebody wants to nominate me, they can.
I would nominate Councilwoman Heather Ward.
Okay,
Okay, I'll second that nomination.
okay. And I probably confused you all. I don't need a second. That was my fault. My fault. Okay, council, again, we have 5 positions on the board and I only have 5 nominees. So I will accept a motion to elect Reverend Josh Lale, Sergeant William Beck, Annette Skidmore, Mark Queen, and Heather Ward to the Drug and Homeless Advisory Task Force.
I so move.
Okay. Need a second, please.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand and saying yes.
Yes.
Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Okay, council, for the Efficiency Task Force. I'll open the floor for nominations.
Okay, for the Town of Valdese Efficiency Task Force nominations, these nominees will serve a 1-year term to end with the final recommendation report to Town Council. I would like to nominate Mr. Rick McClure.
Okay, council, any other nominations from the floor? Okay, next.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Tim Page.
Any other nominations, council? Go ahead, Gary.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Eddie Perro.
Okay, council, any other nominations? Gary?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Steve Perry.
Okay, any other, council?
I guess we'd need a motion to nominate myself.
Well, I wanted to do that.
Okay.
May I nominate Mr. Gary Ogle?
Okay. And these are all 1-year terms, correct?
Right.
Okay. Do your appointees have any terms? Okay, council, going back to the Homeless and Drug Task Force, those are also 1-year terms for each nominee. I should have asked that earlier, thank you. Okay, again, we only have 5 positions on this committee and only have 5 nominees, so I'll accept a motion to nominate all 5 to serve on the Efficiency Task Force.
I so move.
Okay, second, please.
Second.
Paul, did you? Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor of these nominees signify by raising your right hand and saying yes.
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 Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Okay. All right, next, council, I'll open the floor for nominees for the Valdese ABC Board.
I'd like to nominate Miss Angela Hoffman.
Mr. Mayor? I'd like
Yes,
to
sir.
I'd like to nominate Mr. W.T. Sorrell.
Okay. Any other nominees from the floor, council? Okay, seeing none, then we'll vote on Ms. Hoffman first and then Mr. Sorrell. Those in favor of electing Angela Hoffman to the ABC Board signify by saying yes and raising your right hand.
Yes.
Hold on just a minute. Oh, okay. I apologize. I need a motion and a second.
I will make
for
a
both,
motion.
or just one individually? Individually. This will be for Angela Hoffman.
I move that we appoint Angela Hoffman to the ABC Board.
Okay, I need a second, please.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of Angela Hoffman signify by raising your right hand and saying yes.
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 Okay, I need a motion for nominating W.T. Sorrell. You don't have to do that.
No, it's been fine.
Okay, all right. Okay, motion carries. Angela Hoffman has been elected to the Valdese ABC Board. Okay, moving on to item E under new business. Approval of capital project budget ordinance for water plant upgrades. Mr. Weichel.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this is the water plant upgrades, the $7 million grant that we got from the state. So what this does is it sets up the project itself in its own fund. So, typically we have the general fund, then we have the utility fund, and off to the side we have all these project funds, right? So what this does is it sets it up in its own little, I guess you can call it a little bank account, for lack of better words. So it moves, what it does is it establishes the budget for that project. So out of the $7 million, the money is being administered by the Division of Water Infrastructure, or DWI for short. They take 3% right off the top. So what we'll actually be getting of the state appropriation is $6.79 million. So that's set up as revenue, and then that's broken out under the expenditures underneath that. So that sets up a balanced budget for that project fund. So what council is being requested to do is to approve the project fund itself.
Okay. Council, any questions for Mr. Weichel?
Yeah, I want to bring up something here just for a moment. I read the description under the ordinance, and it's looks like all good stuff. The project authorizes a water treatment plant upgrades project, as you stated, and it consists of alteration and improvement in a number of things. Raw water pipes, piping, control valves, flash mix basins, replacing flocculators, modifications of chemical feed systems, adding tube settlers to the sedimentation basins. And the reason I want to point this out, and I don't know if Greg Padgett may be here this evening, but we met with one of our local manufacturers recently, and they had a concern about a couple of factors with the water. Has nothing to do with it being safe drinking water, but there he is. Good, thanks, Greg. Point is, they brought up an issue. They have a couple concerns, and I thought because we're reaching out to our local employers, this particular company hires about over 500 people, and I just wanted to go on record that we heard them and that we're referring it to the staff. I know it's already been referred to the staff, and Greg's maybe already talked with them. Just as soon not mention the company or what their problems are, but I'd just like to make sure that we will be addressing this either by having McGill Associates address it either immediately or in this overall project that we're going to be spending around $7 million on.
Yes, sir.
two separate issues. The plant addresses issues that we had in the CIP. It's also part of the Lenore interconnect. These were all things we identified in the CIP. Has nothing to do with the issue at hand that you're speaking of. That is more of a distribution issue, and we're making some process changes to address that. It has been addressed with the company, the said company, and internally we have a plan. Yes, this will improve the plant, but the plant water quality is excellent. This will just further improve the plant water quality. It's free money to pay for things that we already had in the CIP, so we're going to take advantage of. Plus, it'll allow us to do the interconnect with Lenore for resiliency. But yes, we are addressing those issues separately, sir. I promise you that.
Thank you.
And I'll be glad to go into that further with you if you like at a different.
Council, anyone else with questions?
Just making a comment, this again, this grant is going to take care of a lot of future expenses that we would have incurred as a town.
Yes.
To upgrade the water treatment plant. So what a blessing receiving this
Yes, sir.
$7 million grant.
This as a town doesn't cost us a dime. This was money this was probably, I don't recall, 4 or 5 different projects we had identified over the next 7 years. This allowed us to bring them all together and get one lump sum, take care of them. So it keeps those rates from going up so much.
Anyone else? Okay.
One question for Bo. When are we gonna get the money?
Well, that's a great question. I'd love to get all the money up front, get interest on it, but they won't give us the money until we start work, and we have to do reimbursement requests. So we have to spend the money first, then we get it back. So we can request that every quarter.
We have to spend all $7 million first?
No, quarterly. I report quarterly. So we have to front the money and get some of it back a little bit at a time. So I wish we can do it all at once, but we can't.
Anybody else? Okay, council, I'll entertain a motion to approve the capital project budget ordinance, DWI project number SRPD 1340038.
I move that we approve.
Okay, need a second, please.
Second.
Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by raising your right hand saying yes.
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 Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Thank you, council. Thank you, Bo. Great. Okay, item F, budget, fiscal year 24-25 budget preparation discussion.
Mayor, members of the council, you had me last time. I don't know how adequate I was in my remarks, but we now have the expert. Again, there's no magic to doing a budget. You got a certain amount of money to work with, and you try to find a way to make it go as far as possible. Of course, we're waiting some information about health insurance premiums and some other things along those lines, retirement contributions if they have to go up, as well as your strategic plans and things that you want to see move forward that we're working on now. So I don't know if you have any questions. We'd be glad to try and answer them.
Council? It's your dime, so to speak.
I could always ask a lot of questions, but let me just cut to the chase, I guess. I'd like to go ahead and move that that the council adopt guidelines regarding this fiscal year 24-25 budget. So I therefore move that the town manager apply the following guidelines in the development of the town of Valdese 2024-25 fiscal year budget. Number 1, the town of Valdese shall levy ad valorem taxes on property at a rate not exceeding 41.5 cents per $100 of assessed value.
Mr. Harvey, I apologize for interrupting. What I'll need is a motion to add that to the agenda.
It's on the agenda. We have the item on the agenda.
Yeah, you won't need it on there.
Okay. Just follow it, okay. I apologize, go ahead.
Okay, you got item 1. Item 1 is tax rate not exceeding 41.5 cents per $100 of assessed value. Number 2, the budget shall be prepared such that there is no reduction in essential services. And number 3, the budget shall implement and account for a definitive fee differential between Valdese residents and non-residents for all fee-based services offered by the town of Valdese.
So is that the conclusion of the motion?
That's your motion.
That's my motion, yes, sir.
I second.
Okay. Discussion, council.
Can I ask, Mr.
Excuse
Harvey?
me, if I might. I'm not trying to be rude, but I think the mover gets the first opportunity to speak, so just exercising that. We've had a lot of review of the town's budget and the town's taxes over the past year. And the county of Burke did a reassessment last year. When they do a reassessment, state mandates that when there's a countywide reassessment, each municipality, each county must calculate what's called a revenue neutral rate. And for Valdese, that was 41.5 cents. And the average property assessment in Burke County went up 43% last year with that reassessment. Valdese was around 43 or 44%. And then each governing body, the council in the case of Valdese, sets the tax rate in the year of reevaluation. Tax rate is not lowered or raised in a year of reevaluation. It's set every time the county does reevaluation. So our council set a rate of 51.5 cents last year. That was 24% higher than revenue neutral rate. And so last year, as I talked with hundreds of people, I heard a lot of sad stories about how difficult that was for people. And the reason that we had that rate, as it was explained at the budget workshops last year, and I was the only citizen who was at the budget workshop where the tax rate was proposed, was that the staff said we needed $395,000 of new revenue that would come from that 51.5 cent tax rate. And that $395,000 would pay for paving, and it would pay for new signage. Actually, when they presented it, they said for paving and town employees, but it turned out it was about, Mr. Walker can define this more tightly if we need to, but about $350,000 of that $395,000 was allocated to paving, 30-some thousand to new signs, the three big ones you see as you come into town, and something under $20,000 was allocated to part-time lifeguards and firemen. So that $395,000, then when we checked recently to see how the tax revenue is being collected by Burke County, they're doing a pretty good job. Turns out we're going to end up with over $600,000. So the target was about 2/3 of what the actual amount is. We raised the taxes to 51.5 cents in order to get $395,000 worth of revenue, new revenue, but we got over $600,000 of new revenue. The good thing about that is that $215,000 or $20,000 was enough to pick up the town's make-up portion of the cost overrun on the Old Rock School. So we don't have to dip into the reserves to get that Old Rock School finished. So the reserves don't change. So at any rate, that's where we are. And the other thing that, for those who missed it, has already gone through this council, and it was really one of the consent agenda items, is that the council is agreed to go ahead with some kind of a permanent structure for the pool on a schedule that will allow winter swimming this year. That's essentially a done deal, except we're waiting for the commission to give us a recommendation of which one. That will be paid for out of reserve funds. We don't have to tap taxes and taxpayers again to pay for the pool. It's done. So those two big things, the old rock school renovation and the permanent pool structure, they're done. They're being covered out of the reserve funds, as will be the comprehensive strategic plan for the Parks and Recreation Commission. So that's coming out of the reserve fund. So here we are. There's one other number I need to share with people. This number came in our town newsletter last August. I reviewed it with Mr. Bo Weichert in December with the then interim manager. The town has been saving and allocating $407,000 every year, and that was allocated to pay the debt service on $7.2 million USDA loan that was preliminarily approved. Well, as everybody I think now knows, the architect couldn't get a bid package out. We lost, we have to start over with that, and we are going to, we had to cancel the loan. So we don't have that loan out there. So we have $407,000 that we've been setting aside each year that we can now use for repaving. And then the other repaving source, one other number, my last one, and I'll ask Mr. Weichert to confirm this one. We have POW bill funds that we get every year from the state, from the highway use tax, I believe. And the town gets about $150,000 a year. Some major portion of that, I think, can be used for repaving, can't it? So, you know, we're in good shape. We don't have to cut services. We have a good tax rate that we're in this motion, and I have a lot more numbers, but I think everybody's probably heard enough numbers.
Okay. Ms. Halman?
The question I would have is, we obviously are going to have to do something to the public safety building, either work on it where it's located. It seems to be the plan right now. So we will need some money, obviously, for that structure. So what are the thoughts there as far as the budget is concerned?
I think until you get some hard numbers, there's nothing but speculation. I don't know what it's going to take to get that building to where it needs to be.
Well, we have a reserve fund for that. We have a fund set aside for the public safety building.
I thought you just said we were going to use it for something else. Maybe I misunderstood. I thought you said that that money was going to be used back in the budget. And like I said, maybe I misunderstood.
I understand. Do we have 1.5 million in reserve for the fire department? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And then the $407,000 that Councilman Harvey is speaking of, that was being set aside every year into that fund to as a future debt service payment. So if we take that away, we'll still have the 1.5 million in the project fund, but we won't have anything for a future payment if we need it.
So we are going to take that money away, correct? That's what we're looking at. That was what I understood just now.
Personally, I think it'd be a wise decision to keep contributing to that fund to build up those reserves, because we're gonna have to do something. We're gonna have to build a new building or, remodel, refurbish what we have. I have a question, if I might ask. Bo, have you run the numbers when we look at a 41.5% or 41.5 cent rate, ad valorem rate? Have you run the numbers? Do you know what we're looking at as far as reduction in revenue? Of course, I think the previous councils have prided themselves on having a very healthy fund balance, a little more than yeah, 105%. I don't know where it's at now, and I don't know what the exact number should be for our fund reserves, but I do know we need to have a healthy fund balance. So, yeah, as a councilman, I just want to make sure that if we go this direction, we know what the impact is to our fund balance, our rainy day fund, because we want to make sure we're prepared for those things that are on the horizon, like a pool that all of a sudden deflates.
Yeah, as Brian alluded to, it's a little still early in the process. We're still getting data in. We still got to wait for health insurance quotes, retirement system, things like that. So, it is going to impact fund balance, but how much, I'm not sure at this point. I have a good idea, but I don't know if I want to talk about it publicly or not right now. But.
What is the current fund balance?
We ended June 30th, like 5.2 million, I think, for the general fund.
And that's 105%, isn't it?
Yes,
of
that's
what we're
correct.
supposed to have.
Yes, sir.
And I think I just finished the essential training course. I think you've got to have at least 25% to stay healthy. Is that correct?
Yeah, anything below that, the LGC will start showing up.
Right.
So we want to keep them out of this town.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So can you give any historical perspective on the tax rate for the town of Valdese? When was the last time we've changed that rate per hundred? Do you know any? I hate to put you on the spot. Do you have any history on?
I think, if I remember
in the last
correctly,
30 years, how many times we've changed? Last year we lowered it, but
yeah,
did we raise it prior to that?
I think in 2013 it went up from 40 cents to 48.5 cents, and then in 2016 it went up from 48 to 54, I believe, somewhere around there, and then last year we went back down to 51.5. So 2008 to 2013 was at about 40 cents, which is a penny and a half lower than what's being proposed.
Are we still currently looking, as far as the public safety building goes, has there been more done to find someone to, I guess contractors to look at the current building? And, because that's numbers you're gonna need to do a budget, it would seem to me, because we do need to get something done on that quickly. So, because that's, from what we saw in strategic planning and all that, that is on the top of everyone's list, or most people's. So I'm just trying to figure out, is there a way to know what that is? I think all of us are gonna have to kind of realize that we have to see both sides. Where a lot of us may be in a position where we can afford a little bit more, we did speak to a lot of people who couldn't. So we are in the best interest of everyone, trying to come together on this. I just feel like sometimes we have these big dreams, and what I was told last year when I actually asked, the previous, actually it wasn't last year, it was when I did the citizens training, 2014 maybe, it was years ago. I was told that our taxes had to remain high because all the industry had left, so all the burden fell on the citizens. This town enjoyed a lot of prosperous years because we had these thriving businesses that were bringing so much. I mean, the water was being used. The taxes obviously were there because of the businesses, and now we don't have that. And I hate it for our citizens that we always say, well, we just need to keep everything, keep everything going like it's going. I mean, I love having my trash picked up. I'm not saying everybody's gonna be freaking out going, she's gonna take everything away. But I do think we need to look at our budget and see if there's anything we can do to cut back, because we can't just keep on constantly saying, we deserve this, but making people not be able to buy their medicine at the end of the month because we just keep taxes going up and up. It may not be a lot to everyone in this room, but there are some people that we spoke to a lot of people. And for that many people to come out in election, that is huge. I deal with election numbers all the time. For that many people to come out to an election, people were not happy with the tax rates. That was the one thing we heard from everybody we spoke to, and that was a lot of door knocking we did. So it's gonna be in the forefront for us the whole time. We made a promise that we were gonna make it happen. So I wanna see the taxes brought down, and we all just kinda need to take a good look at ourselves and say, okay, what are we willing as a town to do to keep Valdese great, keep the services, but are there little things that are hiding in these, you know, department budgets that we could say, okay, we could get rid of that to make sure we do get the public safety building done, but at the same time, don't make the citizens keep bearing so much of the brunt of it, because towns around us are not paying, I mean, we pay more taxes than Morganton, and that's hard for me. I'm like, what? So.
But I just want to go on record to state that, I fully support, if we can lower taxes for our citizens, I'm all for it. But I don't want to reduce essential services, and I would hope that paving, I know this, our paving promise to the citizens, we put together a paving study. I think that should be that's part of maintaining our streets. So does council agree that paving is part of the essential services? I would hope so, but I want to go on record stating that we need to find every way possible that we can to deliver services to our citizens at a lower rate. I know Bo, you had sent out some communication stating that through, I forget when this was, but last month through 2023, we had collected what, $2,058,000 in ad valorem taxes, and this year it was $2,600,000. So the estimate last year was a little low. We're collecting more taxes this year than what we anticipated we would collect.
Yeah, so if I remember correctly,
with the reevaluation,
230,000 more than we had anticipated, but the budget last year was balanced, pulling 238,000 from fund balance. So that was a little bit of a wash there.
Mr. Mayor, there's another factor also. This evening we appointed an efficiency task force, and the defined scope of that task force was to work with the staff and with the town manager in analyzing our operations. So I think we all need to have confidence that that efficiency task force will help to find some funds. And in fact, I would hope that everybody here, in fact, everybody who's watching, will send their own suggestions into the town manager on how to save money. If you see ways that we're spending money that we shouldn't be spending, or if you see vehicles sitting around that are not being used, maybe we could sell those. We saw an inventory list of properties last month, and maybe some of those, maybe somebody will want to buy some of those. So there are ways to raise revenue, and I understand that I'm different from most people here. Well, Mr. Mears is different too. We came out of a private sector where you actually sometimes have to cut expenses and keep doing what you're doing. And in fact, I think in every household in town, you don't get to set your wages or your Social Security or your disability income based on what you think you're going to want to, where you're going to want to eat your restaurants, what restaurants you're going to want to eat when you go out, or where you're going to want to take your vacations. It's kind of the other way around. You look at how much money you have, and you'll live within that. And I think this would be probably a very new thing for the town. I don't know that I've ever seen the budget held or trimmed down any in the 18 years that I've been in Valdese. And even last year, I mean, not of that new tax revenue we had, it was projected to be $395,000, but ended up being over $600,000. Not $1 of that went to any of the essential services, not fire department, not rec center, not police department, not community affairs. So, I think we've run through these numbers, run through them with Mr. Weichert, and, you know, I'll talk with anybody in any detail, and I know he will as well. So I think we're in good shape. And this motion that we made was not to cut any services, it was just the opposite. We had a record turnout of voters in 2023. We had more people voting in this election than the town of Morganton had voting for the mayor. It was like, I don't know what it was, 37%, something like, tremendous turnout. I think half the people voted because, roughly half, a little more than half, because they wanted lower taxes. And a lot of the others voted because they heard we're gonna cut taxes, gonna cut services. Well, this motion is to set the tax rate at 41.5 cents with no reduction in essential services. And that we have a differential between residents and non-residents for all fee-based services. You know, people use the rec center who live in Hickory, and they pay a little bit more maybe than Valdese residents, but then what's a Valdese resident? You know, it should be somebody that lives in one of our wards, not somebody that has 28690 zip code, because that's about a couple thousand people more than actually pay taxes to Valdese. So there's a lot of ways that we can live within this budget. There's a lot of ways we can keep all the services we have.
I'd just say, I think this is fabulous if we can cut to 41.5 cents and keep all the essential services.
Okay, anyone else?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
could I ask for the consideration of amending that motion to include a two-day budget workshop towards the end of April, early May, as soon as staff can identify good dates for that, because there may be some tough decisions that we're talking about here. Y'all may want to know before we pull the trigger.
Anybody can amend the motion. I'm not in favor of amending this motion. I think this is a clean motion. We reviewed the budgeting procedure at the last meeting Monday night, and when Mr. Ogle mentioned the essentials in municipal government, the course that we attended, it's absolutely clear. Anywhere you look, it's the responsibility of the town manager to bring a budget. We've given the town manager guidelines for that budget. Once he delivers the budget, then we have a month or so that we can call special meetings if we need to. But let's accept these guidelines, let's move on, and let's, Mr. Manager, I'm sorry, but the main reason we hired you was all this experience you had, and the main job you had was to bring us a budget, so.
And
we're asking you to do
that's
that.
why you need to listen to me.
I'm sorry.
Exactly.
You need to be listening to me.
Well, we did, and you were listening to us when we had the interview and we explained the tax situation. You had no problem then.
Well,
Have no problem now.
I agree with you that we do need budget retreat. We desperately, especially for your new folks that have not been involved.
Yeah, when would you want to do that? What?
It would be nice to have some dates, that y'all look at some dates and send us some dates and let us look at our calendars, because our calendars get very busy. Y'all all know, we have lots of meetings. So it would be nice to get some dates in April maybe that we could set aside some time to do this.
We can set meetings anytime we want. This is a motion to provide budget guidelines. It has nothing to do with meetings. I mean, I'll listen to you on when we meet with you, but let's get this motion passed and let's move on. And then in April, let's schedule more meetings. If you want to schedule more meetings, we have a lot of meetings in March.
We got 3 scheduled in April. That's why I say we need to get them scheduled. But.
Okay, what we'll do is we'll first vote on Mr. Harvey's motion, and I have a second. I believe Councilwoman Ward seconded that. Any further discussion on the motion?
Okay, would you read the motion again, please?
Yeah, I'll read it unless, yeah. The Town of Valdese shall levy ad valorem taxes on property at a rate not to exceed 41.5% per hundred of assessed value. Number 2, the budget shall be prepared such that there's no reduction in essential services. And number 3, the budget shall implement and account for a definitive fee differential between Valdese residents and non-residents for all fee-based services offered by the town of Valdese. Okay? All right, those in favor signify by raising your right hand and stating yes.
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 Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Now, to discuss the budget meeting request, what I
Excuse
need,
me.
I'm working
Are we
on
done?
it. I'm working on it. What I need is a motion to add to the agenda a request made by our town manager.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to
budget.
make a motion to add it 2 days to our calendar to discuss the nature of preparing this budget for 2024.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion?
Be careful. I would prefer honestly to have that session. I would like the retreat to be something more than just hearing. I would like to have some, back and forth input on things. If it was possible to do it in May, it would be amazing, because I like the very first of May, or in a weird place. I'm trying to figure out April. April's insane for, I think, everybody, or the last week of April, I guess. Would it be in the first part of the week, or?
Are these
We
meetings gonna be before we receive a budget or after we receive a budget?
That'll be at the recommendation of the town manager.
Well, we're talking about as we start getting the bigger parts of the budget put together and we start seeing things, we want to be able to have an opportunity to convey that to y'all, to make sure that our understanding of what essential services are and yours are the same, and that we go through this as smoothly as possible, because there may be some difficult days.
Yeah.
My first year as a county manager with Burke County, I had to cut the budget by nearly 5% total across the board, and that was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want any surprises. This is tough business.
I think it would provide a good chance for me personally to understand it better, and to see what people do consider essential services. I know it varies greatly in our citizens. I know that when I go to my friends in Raleigh, they look at me and say, "They do what in your town? Man, y'all are spoiled." And we probably, compared to what they're getting, I'm spoiled in Valdese. I am. I'm not pointing at anybody else. I am spoiled. So I would like the chance to, for transparency's sake, to see what the essential services are and all that. So I do agree that we need that.
Good point. Okay, I've got a motion and a second to add the meetings to the current agenda, to request that they be scheduled. That's what this motion's for. Okay, those in favor signify by saying yes, raising your right hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed signify by saying no and raising your right hand.
No.
4-1, motion carries. Now, what I need is a motion to add this topic to the April agenda so we can set dates. That'll give you time to set the dates that you feel is adequate. Is that good for y'all? Okay, let's do it this way. Thank you. I need a motion to set the dates for the budget meetings as dictated by the town manager.
So move.
Okay?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by raising your right hand and stating yes.
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 Those opposed, raise your right hand and state no.
No.
Okay, 4-1, motion carries. Thank you, council. Thanks. That was a learning experience. Okay, Mr. Manager, your report, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. OCP production, the Diary of Anne Frank shows dates March 7th, 8th, 9th, 14th, 15th, and 16th, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. Next council meeting, citizens' budget priorities, Western Piedmont Council of Government Strategic Plan results is scheduled for Monday, March 18th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers, Valdese Town Hall. Next agenda review council meeting is scheduled for Monday, March 25th, 2024 at 6 p.m. council chambers in Valdese Town Hall. And item D, next regular council meeting scheduled for Monday, April 1st, 2024 at 6 p.m. council chambers, Valdese Town Hall. That concludes the report, sir.
Thank you. Council comments?
Mr. Mayor, on behalf of 3 new council members, a brief state-of-the-art report, please, on the first quarter of 2024. In a word, the state has been changed. When you look across the front of this room, you see 6 first-termers. Everybody up here is serving first term on the town council, and I think that might be a first ever since Valdese became a town. We are anchored by great town clerk and Jessica Lale. She's the youngest one up here probably, but the longest serving one at the front of the room. She has great attention to detail. She meets every challenge with a smile, and she does everything on time. And whether you realize it or not, on Friday she published a 282-page book called The Agenda Packet. We have Attorney Tim Swanson, who is the steady and competent hand on the tiller. He knows the law. He ensures smooth and orderly meetings to the extent that he can. He does a great job. Interim Manager Steen is mentor to younger staff, and as we've discussed, he's got a great responsibility in this budget area. We appreciate Mayor Watts and Council Members Lohm and Amiris for welcoming and tolerating us newcomers. This entire new council inherited challenges ignored for about 8 years or so, like the public safety building. The structural issues on the public safety building that you can read in the May 2010 minutes are the same ones that you can read in the February, March 2018 minutes. The walls are cracking. We have a 24-year-old pool bubble that rotted to the point where it will no longer be inflated. That's going to be fixed. We have the Old Rock School renovation bids that came in $500,000 over budget, and that's been taken care of. That's moving ahead. We thank all the citizens of Valdese for your patience and participation in helping to develop the first ever citizen-based strategic plan. And I hope everybody will tune in 2 weeks from tonight when the final results of that plan will be presented as guidance for the fiscal year budget development. One of the reasons why we reduced the number of meetings this year was that we had citizens telling us what the priorities are, and we're providing those to the town manager and staff 2 weeks from tonight in this same room. On behalf, well, maybe not in this room, I'm sorry. I think it is in this room. On behalf of the entire council, I want to give a special thanks to 16 individuals who stepped forward to serve on town committees tonight. That's got to be some kind of a record. And it's my pleasure to report that the Facilities Review Committee will meet in full this week to get to work on providing a modern and safe structure for our police and fire departments. In fact, 3 of the members of this Facilities Review Committee joined in a special informal meeting on February 1st with the staff and architect to review the Old Rock School renovation plans. And as Councilman Mears and Mr. Steen will attest, it was at that meeting that the town received a guarantee to ensure that $150,000 would be raised to cover the new auditorium seats. And then the review and discussion of the plans led to us getting the news the following day that the construction costs were going to be reduced another $133,000. So in summary, the Old Rock School renovation and the pool bubble fix are underway. And now our town can get on with a reduction in property taxes, with additional street repaving, and a fix for the public safety building. I want to thank each and every citizen for all you do to help ensure that Valdese will always be the greatest small town in North Carolina. So thank you.
Thank you. Council, anybody else? Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Thank you.